as the next verse, the last verse we will discuss inshallah ta'ala today. قال ألقوا فلما ألقوا سحروا أعين الناس واسترهبوهم وجاءوا بسحر عظيم. Which means he said throw, Musa alayhi salam, he said to them, you throw first. And when they threw, they bewitched the eyes of the people and struck terror into them. And they presented a great feat of magic. As you see here, Musa alayhi salam, he told them, you throw first. So that means he got to have the last call, basically. And this is a benefit, of course, for Musa alayhi salam. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describe the scene here. It's an amazing one. And you can imagine how many people, and there are numbers mentioned in the books of tafsir. There is no grounds to it when it comes to authenticity. But as you see the call of Fir'aun to gather all the sorcerers from around Egypt, and it's something that is well established among the people. You know, you can imagine they're coming in thousands and thousands of people. They have the knowledge of the sorcery and they have all kinds of tricks with them and so on. And of course with sorcery they're aided by the jinn and the like of this. So when they throw their magic, فَلَمَّا أَلْقَوْا, their sticks and whatever, سَحَرُوا أَعْيُنَ النَّاسِ, they made the eyes of the people bewitched. And this is what the sorcery is. The sorcery is not something that is, is true, or something that is in reality has a great effect in it, but rather it's affecting the eyes of the people. They can manipulate how the people see things. So they bewitched the eyes of the people, وَاسْتَرْهَبُوهُمْ, and they struck terror into them. And you can imagine how many of these sticks they became snakes and serpents and so on. Something very scary to see, such a scary scene with all of what they did. وَجَاءُوا بِسِحْرٍ عَظِيمٍ, and they presented a sihr or magic. There is great magic. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls it great, that means it's great, something that affected the eyes of the people. Sometimes people, they watch things, or sorcerers, they're playing tricks on the people, cutting someone into two halves and then bring them back, and all of these types of things. Sometimes people are amazed, and sometimes these people, they get millions and millions of dollars and so on. But all of that compared to what the people at the time of Musa alayhi salam did, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called it وَجَاءُوا بِسِحْرٍ عَظِيمٍ, not one or two, but thousands of them. And they presented this great magic. So then whoever opposes and defeated this, and that's one versus the masses of these sorcerers, that means that he has to be upon the truth. And that's what will be mentioned then afterwards in the verses to come, inshallah ta'ala, and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala aided Musa alayhi salam. We don't have time to continue this, inshallah, we'll continue that next time. But as we see here, when we stop here at verse number 116, and how we need to benefit when we are going through the verses, and how that the matter, it might have taken months or weeks or whatever there is, or days, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, but how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala presented it, and how Musa alayhi salam, he went to face Fir'aun, and he was instructed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's a messenger of Allah. And what's going through the heart of Musa alayhi salam, and the certainty that he has in his heart that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make him victorious. And this certainty in the hearts of Musa alayhi salam, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to him something that should be present in the hearts of the believers. If you follow the orders of Allah, be settled, have the certainty that the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the truth. This certainty in the hearts is not just something to comfort the believers, it's an action by itself. You know what, when Musa alayhi salam, for example, defeated Fir'aun, we should not look at the actions or the acts of defeat to be done physically only. The physical actions, this is what is apparent to the people, but it has to be established based on the foundation of deeds done by the heart, the faith and the acts of certainty, being certain in the promise of Allah. This is an action. This is something that shows its effect physically. The disbelievers, they do not see that, they do not believe in that. But that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to have in our hearts. If a believer have the certainty in the reward from Allah, and they take the physical actions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered them to do, then the outcome is as we would get to know in the story and many stories in the Quran. That's why Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he made a statement that if the believers, they were ordered to push a mountain from its place, which is not the case, but if they were ordered to push a mountain from its place, and the order is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if they put their trust in Allah, if they rely on Allah, they would move it from its place. What that statement basically saying what's mentioned in the Quran, that the victory from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to Musa alayhi salam, the aid, the support to the believers is based on what? Is based on the certainty in the hearts of the believers, relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, the iman, the faith and so on. And when they obey the orders of Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala aid them and give them the victory.